Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. BRICS is popping up everywhere in the news lately, and today we're going to, well, deep dive into it, but not just the original 5 countries.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about this whole BRICS expansion thing, all these new countries wanting to join.
Right.
We've got a ton of sources, too, by the way.
Yeah.
We're looking at reports from think tanks. We've even got some stuff about Cold War spies.
Ooh, Cold War spy.
Yeah, it's going to get interesting.
That way.
So, our mission today is to figure out why BRICS is expanding in the first place and what this means
Yeah, what is it?
for, all of us, for the whole world,
For the whole world, yeah.
and what you should, be paying attention to.
What we should all be paying attention to, absolutely.
So, just to, get us all on the same page,
Yeah.
BRICS, it stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa.
The original 5.
The OG 5, yeah.
OG BRICS.
And it actually started, way back in 2001.
Yeah, back.
As just like an economic concept. Someone in a think tank was like, hey, what if we...
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then in 2006, it actually became, a real forum where they meet and talk and make decisions and stuff.
They got organized.
They did. And now,
Yeah.
and now it's like becoming this,
It's a thing.
it's a major thing.
Yeah, a major thing. Yeah.
And, it's kind of a power move, right?
Absolutely. It's totally a power move.
Like they're trying to change the whole balance of power in the world.
Change the game.
Exactly. Change the game.
Yeah.
So think about this. BRICS countries, they've got 42% of the world's population.
That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people. And over 31% of global GDP.
So a third of all the money in the world?
Basically, yeah.
Wow.
And that's according to official data from the World Factbook. So it's not just, made up numbers.
It's a real deal.
Yeah, the real deal.
Legit.
And get this, over 40 countries have said they want to join.
They're lining up.
They're lining up. So that tells you something, though, right? Why are all these countries so eager to get in on this action?
Well, I mean, there's got to be some good stuff in it for them, right?
Right. It's not just about, making friends and holding hands.
Not just a social club.
Not just a social club. We're talking serious benefits here.
Benefits, yeah, like what?
Like access to development funds, for starters.
Oh, yeah, money talks.
They've got this thing called the New Development Bank.
The NDB.
Right, the NDB. And they're already pumping money into all sorts of projects.
Like what kind of projects?
Everything. Like roads and bridges, renewable energy, you name it.
Infrastructure.
Infrastructure, yeah.
Wow.
In fact, their website says they've already approved almost $33 billion.
Billion with a B.
Billion with the B, yep, for 96 projects.
They're serious.
They're serious. They're putting their money where your mouth is.
Literally.
Literally.
Boy. Yeah.
So that's a big incentive for countries to join, right?
Oh, yeah. Who wouldn't want a piece of that pie?
Exactly. But it goes beyond just, handouts.
It's bigger than that.
It's about reshaping the whole, global financial system.
Whoa.
BRICS is setting itself up as a rival to the IMF, the World Bank, those institutions that have been dominated by the West for, forever.
So they're offering an alternative.
Exactly. An alternative for countries who feel like they've been ignored or taken advantage of by the current system.
That's a powerful message.
It is. And we're seeing this play out very clearly in the Chinese sources we looked at.
Okay, what are they saying?
They're basically saying BRICS is the key to a multipolar world.
Multipolar meaning?
Meaning, power isn't concentrated in just one place, like the West.
Power is spread out?
Right. It's shared among different power centers.
Okay, I get it.
And guess who they see as, the leader of this new world order?
Let me guess. China.
Bingo. They're not exactly shy about their ambitions.
Ambitious, yeah, I can see that.
And, they're really pushing this narrative that BRICS is the solution.
Solution to what?
To what they see as, the problems with the Western-dominated world.
Okay, so they're not just trying to join the club, they're trying to change the rules of the game.
Exactly. But here's the thing. It's not as simple as, East versus West.
Right, because there are tensions within BRICS, right?
Yeah, there are definitely some tensions, especially between China and India.
Interesting. Like what?
Well, China is pushing hard for things like a BRICS currency.
Their own money.
Yeah, to rival the U.S. dollar.
Wow, that's a big deal.
It is a big deal. And they even have a name for it.
What, like brick coin or something?
No, it's called BRICS Pay.
BRICS Pay, okay.
But other members, especially India, are a little hesitant about all this.
Why is that?
Well, to understand that, we need to go back in time a little bit.
Back in time.
Yeah, back to the Cold War.
Ooh, intrigue.
We found this really interesting article in The Print, an Indian news outlet.
Okay.
And it talks about how India's experience during the Cold War with the Soviet Union has really shaped their thinking about, like, alliances and partnerships.
Makes sense. History repeats itself, or whatever they say.
Right. And it all comes down to this thing called the Mitrokin Archive.
Never heard of it.
So this archive is basically a collection of, like, intelligence reports from a former KGB archivist who defected to the West.
Okay, so like secret spy stuff.
Exactly. And what it revealed was that the Soviet Union had this massive spy network operating in India.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Mm.
Like KGB agents were everywhere, influencing politics, the media, all sorts of things.
Wow, that's crazy.
It was a big deal. And it really shook India's trust in the Soviet Union.
I bet.
So you can see why India might be a little cautious about, putting all their eggs in the BRICS basket.
They're like, fool me once.
Exactly. They don't want to become too dependent on any one power, especially after that experience.
So they're playing it safe.
Yeah, they're trying to maintain their independence, their strategic autonomy.
Smart.
And we see this in how they're acting today, especially when it comes to defense.
That's okay.
During the Cold War, they relied heavily on Soviet weapons and then later on Russian weapons. But now they're diversifying their suppliers.
Shopping around.
Exactly. They're making deals with countries like France, the U.S., trying to reduce their reliance on Russia.
So it's a big shift from their Cold War stance.
Yeah, it's a major shift. And it shows how seriously they're taking this whole idea of strategic autonomy.
Not putting all their eggs in one basket.
Exactly. And this cautious approach is definitely shaping how they engage within BRICS.
So it's not just about China pushing their agenda, India's pushing back.
Absolutely. They're not just going to jump on board with every initiative China proposes, especially if it means jeopardizing their relationships with the West.
It's a balancing act.
It is a very delicate balancing act.
So you've got China pushing for a more like confrontational approach.
Yeah.
And India urging caution and strategic balance.
Right.
This is going to be fascinating to watch how this dynamic plays out as BRICS evolves.
Absolutely. But there's another piece of the puzzle we need to consider.
What's that?
The West. How are they reacting to all of this?
Right. The other side of the coin.
Exactly. Because their reaction is going to have a huge impact on how this whole BRICS saga plays out.
So what are they saying?
Well, from what we've gathered, the U.S. seems to be downplaying BRICS' rise.
Like it's no big deal.
At least publicly, yeah.
Interesting.
They're not portraying it as a major threat.
But there's always a but.
Of course, there's always a but.
Spill the tea.
Okay, so while the U.S. might be putting on a brave face,
Oh, okay.
some European policymakers are, like, sounding the alarm bells.
They're worried.
Yeah, they're worried that the West is being complacent, that they're not taking BRICS seriously enough.
Complacent.
Yeah, like they're just assuming that the current world order will stay the same forever.
And that BRICS is just a fad.
Yeah, something like that.
I see.
And they're saying that the West needs to address the concerns of developing countries.
Like why they're turning to BRICS in the first place.
Exactly. Because if they don't, those countries are just going to keep moving closer to BRICS. So you've got this split within the West. The U.S. downplaying the threat and some European nations getting nervous.
That's a tricky situation.
It is, and it's a dynamic we're going to have to explore further because it's going to have a huge impact on how this whole BRICS saga plays out.
Absolutely. The plot thickens.
It does. And it's going to be fascinating to see what happens next.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
Me too. Okay, so we've been talking about how some in the West are getting a little nervous about BRICS, but, even within BRICS itself,
Yeah.
there are some serious, challenges.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not going to be easy for them to, reshape the global order or whatever.
It's definitely not a walk in the park.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got all these different countries with all these different interests trying to agree on things. It's like...
It's got to be tough.
It's like herding cats, honestly.
Yeah, like too many cooks in the kitchen kind of thing.
Exactly. Too many presidents with different agendas, yeah.
So where do you see, the biggest cracks starting to show?
Well, one of the biggest hurdles is just, the whole consensus thing.
Oh, yeah.
Every decision, everything they want to do, it requires buy-in from every member.
Right.
And that can be a real slog, when you've got such a diverse group of countries.
Especially when you've got democracies and authoritarian regimes all in the same group.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Like trying to get them to agree on, I don't know, climate change policy. That's got to be.
Ooh. Yeah, good luck with that one.
Not a quick meeting.
No, not at all.
And then you've got the economic disparities too, right?
Right, like you were saying before about Brazil and South Africa.
Yeah, like they're facing some serious economic struggles.
Corruption, infrastructure problems,
Right.
political instability.
Yeah, all that stuff.
It makes it tough for them to, really contribute to all these big, ambitious BRICS initiatives.
Yeah, they're kind of weighed down by their own problems.
Exactly.
And even when they do manage to, like, agree on something,
Yeah.
actually implementing it, that's a whole other challenge.
Well, for sure.
Like, take the idea of a BRICS currency.
The whole BRICS pay thing?
Yeah, BRICS pay, it sounds great in theory.
It does. It sounds very catchy.
But actually creating a currency that rivals the U.S. dollar,
Right.
that's a monumental task. You need immense coordination, trust between the countries.
Yeah, trust is key.
And honestly, a level of economic stability that, some of these countries just don't have right now.
Yeah, that's a big one.
I mean, it's like saying you're going to climb Mount Everest in flip-flops.
Flip-flops.
Yeah, like it's not impossible, but...
But the odds are stacked against you.
Exactly.
The U.S. dollar is just so deeply embedded in the global financial system.
Right.
To dislodge it, you need like a seismic shift.
Yeah, it'd be a huge undertaking. And that's why, those internal divisions we were talking about before, they're so crucial.
Between China and India and all that.
Yeah, if BRICS wants to be taken seriously on the world stage, they need to present a united front.
Show that they're all on the same page.
Right. A clear vision and like a realistic plan for how they're going to achieve their goals.
Otherwise, it's just a lot of talk.
Yeah, all bark and no bite.
Exactly.
And then, of course, there's the elephant in the room.
The war in Ukraine.
Yeah, it's putting a huge strain on BRICS's unity.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, Russia wants support from its BRICS partners.
Right.
But the other members are trying to, walk this tightrope.
Not condemning Russia outright.
Right, but also not endorsing the invasion.
It's a tough spot to be in.
It is.
And it's really exposed, I think, the limits of BRICS's commitment to that whole non-interference thing.
The idea that they don't get involved in each other's affairs.
Right, that's kind of gone out the window with this.
Yeah, it's definitely been tested.
And then you've got the economic fallout from the war.
Yeah.
Sanctions against Russia, disrupted energy markets, global inflation.
Yeah.
All of that is impacting BRICS members.
Even the ones who've tried to stay neutral.
Even them.
So it's a bit of a gloomy picture, honestly.
Yeah, it's not looking great.
But let's try to be, optimistic for a second.
Okay, I like optimism.
What are some potential, paths to success for BRICS?
Paths to success. Okay.
Could they actually overcome all these hurdles and, achieve their ambitious goals?
Well, I think first and foremost, they need to be realistic
Realistic
about what they can actually achieve together.
Okay.
Instead of trying to agree on everything, maybe they should focus on areas where there's at least some common ground.
Okay, like what?
Like economic cooperation, development projects.
Right.
Maybe even some climate change initiatives.
Yeah. Those are all things they could potentially work together on.
Potentially, yeah.
And we are seeing some of that already, right?
Like a new development bank, for example.
Yeah, they're funding projects all over the place.
Clean energy, transportation infrastructure.
Exactly. So maybe those tangible successes, they could build some momentum.
Yeah, some trust.
Pave the way for, tackling some of the tougher issues down the line.
It's possible.
It's possible.
And they also need to be more strategic about how they engage with the rest of the world.
Okay, how so?
Well, instead of always positioning themselves as this, anti-Western bloc,
Right.
which can be alienating to a lot of countries,
Yeah.
they could focus on their role as a champion for developing nations.
We saw that argument in one of the sources we read.
It's a good point.
Is a good point.
Highlighting their commitment to a multipolar world.
Where power is more evenly distributed.
Right, and focusing on issues that are important to developing countries.
Sustainable development, reforming global financial institutions.
Exactly. That kind of message might resonate with a wider audience.
It's more inclusive.
It is. It's not about picking sides.
Right. It's about finding common ground.
Right, and working together to solve shared problems.
So instead of trying to blow up the whole system,
Yeah, dismantle the existing world order.
they can be a voice for change from within.
Exactly. Working within those institutions to push for reforms that benefit developing nations.
It's about picking your battles.
And finding ways to exert influence and achieve concrete results.
So actions speak louder than words.
Always.
BRICS needs to show that it can deliver.
Not just talk about
They
it.
need to prove that they're more than just a talking shop.
Otherwise, they risk being dismissed as all bark and no bite.
And nobody wants that.
No, definitely not.
So we've looked at the internal challenges,
Right.
the potential paths to success,
Yeah.
but there's one more piece of the puzzle we need to fit in,
What's that?
the West's response.
Ah, yes, the West.
We talked about the differing viewpoints within the West.
The U.S. downplaying the threat, some European nations expressing concern.
Right, and that's where things get really interesting.
How so?
Because how the West chooses to react to BRICS's rise,
Yeah.
it's going to have a profound impact on the group's trajectory.
Sure.
Will they try to contain BRICS's growth?
Or engage with them constructively?
Or just dismiss them as a passing fad?
All valid options.
And how will BRICS respond to those actions?
Right. Will they become more assertive, more confrontational? Or will they try to build bridges? Find common ground?
It's a complex dance.
It is, with very high stakes.
And the answers to these questions, they're going to shape the future of global politics and economics.
The whole world is watching.
It's a fascinating time to be alive.
And a little bit unnerving, honestly.
Yeah, the world is changing.
The old certainties are fading.
And the future is, well,
Unpredictable.
totally unpredictable. Okay, so we've been, like, really deep in the weeds here with BRICS.
Deep, deep in the weeds.
But, it's not just about, like, what's happening on the world stage.
Right.
This whole BRICS thing, it's going to have real-world consequences for, regular people.
Absolutely. It's going to hit home for everyone eventually.
Yeah, and that's what we want to explore now. Like, how is the West's reaction to BRICS going to affect, your country, your life, your
The
future?
big picture stuff.
Exactly, because it's all connected.
Right. It is. It all comes back to us in the end.
So let's break it down. Based on what we've seen in these sources, how is the West actually responding to this, like, potential shift in power?
Well, it's kind of like, split personality almost.
Yeah, how so?
You've got the U.S., the traditional big dog on the block.
Yeah,
They seem to be downplaying the whole BRICS thing.
like, this is no big deal.
Yeah, at least publicly.
Yeah,
Their official statements, they acknowledge that BRICS is growing, obviously.
right.
But they're not exactly panicking.
It's like they're trying to project this image of, we're not worried, everything's fine.
Yeah. Keep calm and carry on.
But is that really how they feel?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
And more importantly, is that strategy going to work?
Well, some experts argue that the U.S. is underestimating BRICS,
Okay.
that this whole dismissal thing could backfire big time.
How so?
I mean, BRICS is a big deal, right?
Yeah.
We're talking a significant chunk of the global population and economy,
Right.
and they're actively trying to create alternatives to those Western-dominated institutions we talked about.
Yeah. Like the New Development Bank and,
Exactly, the NDB.
and those alternative currencies.
Right, the BRICS Pay thing.
BRICS Pay, yeah.
If those initiatives actually gain traction,
Yeah.
it could really shake things up.
Yeah, like the whole global financial landscape could change.
Absolutely.
And that's why some European policymakers are, like, a lot more cautious.
Oh, yeah, they're not messing around.
They're basically saying the West needs to wake up,
Smell the cough.
smell the coffee, yeah, and realize that ignoring the concerns of developing countries
And clinging to those outdated institutions.
is a recipe for disaster.
It's not going to end well.
So we've got this divide within the West, right?
The U.S. downplaying the threat, some in Europe getting nervous.
It's like two different movies playing out at the same time.
Two different approaches.
And this internal debate, it just adds another layer of complexity to this whole BRICS saga.
Oh, for sure.
Because depending on how those disagreements within the West play out,
Yeah.
we could see all sorts of different scenarios unfold.
Multiple possibilities.
Okay, so let's, like, put on our futurologist hats for a minute
Okay, I like it.
and explore those potential scenarios.
Let's get hypothetical.
What are some of the possibilities here?
Well, one possibility is that the West just digs in its heels
Okay.
and tries to contain BRICS's growth.
Like, actively try to stop them.
Yeah, imagine a world where the U.S. strengthens its alliances with, like-minded countries.
Okay.
Maybe even tries to exploit those internal divisions within BRICS.
Like, turn them against each other?
Exactly, classic divide and conquer.
But would that actually work?
It's a risky move, for sure.
I mean, BRICS isn't like some rogue state.
Right.
It's a group of powerful countries.
With their own agendas.
Trying to control them, it could backfire.
Oh, absolutely.
It could push them closer together.
Yeah, and fuel that anti-Western sentiment.
Right, so maybe that's not the best approach.
Maybe not.
So what's another scenario?
Well, the opposite of containment is engagement.
Okay, engagement.
What if the West actually tries to engage with BRICS constructively?
Okay, interesting.
Recognize that they need to cooperate on certain issues, like Climate change, global health, economic stability, things that affect everyone.
Well, because those are shared challenges.
Exactly. Everyone has a stake in those.
It's like keep your friends close and your enemies closer.
Uh-huh, something like that.
But in this case, it's more like recognizing that your rivals can also be your partners.
On certain issues, yeah.
Is that realistic, though?
I mean, it's not impossible.
Okay.
We already see some examples of cooperation between Western nations and BRICS members.
Right, on like specific issues.
Exactly. The question is, can they scale that up?
To a more systemic level.
Right. Can they make it more than just like one-off collaborations?
That's a big question.
It is.
And of course, there's always the like wild card scenario.
The one we don't want to think about.
Yeah, the one where things go really bad.
Like really, really bad.
Like imagine a world where this geopolitical competition
Between the West and BRICS,
it intensifies
maybe even spills over into conflict.
like an actual war.
It's a scary thought, but it's not outside the realm of possibility.
I mean, you've got tensions between the West and Russia, tensions between the West and China.
Right.
The global economy is not doing so hot.
Climate change is looming.
All of these things could, like, trigger a conflict.
It's a powder keg.
Yeah, it's a lot to think about.
It is.
But for our listener, the person at home trying to make sense of all of this,
Yeah.
what's the takeaway?
Like, why should they care about this whole BRICS saga?
Because it's going to affect them.
It will. It'll affect everyone.
This isn't just some abstract geopolitical drama.
No, this is real life.
It's about trade, investment, security, diplomacy.
All the things that make the world go round.
It's about the fabric of our interconnected world.
And that fabric is changing.
So imagine a world where the US dollar is no longer the, like, king of global finance.
That's a big one.
What happens to your savings?
To the cost of imported goods.
To your country's ability to trade on the global stage?
All big questions.
And on the security front,
what new alliances will your country have to make?
what new threats will it have to face?
These are not easy questions to answer.
But they're questions we all need to be thinking about.
Because the world is changing.
And those who are prepared for those changes.
They're the ones who are going to thrive.
So we've reached the end of our BRICS deep dive.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We've talked about the history, the ambitions, the challenges, the potential futures of this, like, powerful bloc.
It's a complex story.
It is. But hopefully we've given you, the listener, some food for thought.
Some things to ponder.
Some insights to help you navigate this changing world.
Because knowledge is power, right?
Absolutely.
And in a world as complex and unpredictable as ours,
That power is more important than ever.
so keep asking questions, keep digging deeper,
Keep challenging assumptions.
because the quest for knowledge never ends.
And the more informed you are.
The better prepared you'll be for whatever the future holds.
So thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of BRICS.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll be back next time with another fascinating topic
Ready to explore the complexities of our world.
and bring you the insights that matter.
Until then, stay curious.
And stay informed.